Hi and welcome to Explore, the place where we explore leadership in the 21st century and future trends and how we're going to create a world that works for all. And today I invited Noah Reddington. He sounds like he's from England or the United States, but he's actually from Denmark. And he has had a very interesting job as the advisor for our first female Prime Minister here in Denmark. And I invited you to hear about your experiences with observing this, witnessing this role, and particularly I would like to ask you if you think there is a difference between being a female politician and a male politician. Does that make a difference what sex you are?
First of all, thank you for inviting me for this interesting project. And regarding your question, the short answer is yes, and the long answer is yes, yes, and yes. It makes a huge difference in the public perception, whether you're a man or a woman. There was a study released this spring from Yale Management School, and the thesis was that occupancy is very gender-biased, meaning that if you're a police chief controlling a riot and there will be some casualties, some of the demonstrators are hurt, then if you're a male police chief, then of course you will be punished in the public, but only by 10%. But if you're a woman, you will be punished with 30%, which is quite a difference. So there is a huge prize for female politicians when it comes to make mistakes. And we all make mistakes, but as a woman, the price is just so much higher. And this means that you will see a lot of female politicians, they have a tendency to become very risk averse. And when you become risk averse in politics or in other fields of high competition, then you will see that there is a tendency to not be in the top.
Oh, okay, because then you're not considered like somebody who has drive enough, and
you need to be aggressive. You need to have drive. You need to set your will through, and that can be difficult if you don't have the will to make some risks once in a while. Take some risk, yeah.
Can you see other differences between being a female and a male politician? Is there other things that are different?
I think there's so many differences. For instance, when it comes to your looks, you can make a lot of polls asking the voters and the electorate what they think will Denmark be ready for a woman prime minister, and they will all say yes, sure, it's perfectly fine with us. Just bring her on, bring her on. But when it comes to how they react in the way a female or she performed in the public life, there were so many things that you have to calculate. For instance, how do you look? What is your haircut the day? What kind of clothes do you wear? How is your voice? For instance, we know from a lot of studies that if you have a deep voice like this, then you're considered a very trustworthy person with a lot of punters. But if you have a higher pitch, then you have some then you're considered a lightweight. So there are all these gifts from nature that just gives women not as good a hand in politics as for men.
What about this whole theme with family? You know, are they married?
Oh, that's a classic one, because when you are a woman in politics and you have an interview, they will always ask you how can you handle this work-life balance? Like it's always comes up. How do you handle this? How can you be a good mother when you have this high position in politics? Who take care of the kids in the evening? Who will make the homework with them? What about the cooking? What about the clothes? How come that you look like a normal person? You must be so busy. And you never have these same kind of questions for men. Of course, they are asked about their family relations, but the point is that as a man, you can just say, "I'm so happy with my family. I'm so proud of my children, and they mean everything for me. And I'm so happy that my wife can help me." And that's basically what you are asked about. You're not asked about what do you do if they get sick, and what about their clothes, and what kind of food will they have in their lunch bag, and all this. Like, you just have an idea that a woman should be more ready to answer all these kind of questions.
So it seems like the women have more work to do because they need to prepare more, they need to be more risk averse, and they also need to take care of more, their mother role and take care of all these things behind that are not expected of men.
They have so much more work to do. And they need to be so much more careful about how they present themselves in public life. And I think most female politicians, they have to make a very important decision when they enter public life, and that is, their families, how much are they going to be part of their public profile?
If we look at politicians that everyone in the world knows, we can take the great example of Hillary Clinton. When you look at her, do you consider her very feminine, or what is your when you look?
First of all, I consider Hillary Clinton very professional. That's my impression. She's extremely professional, and she's a smooth politician. It's very hard for me to see that she should be more feminine than her competitors. But then again, I think she's more into childcare, for instance, and she's more into women's rights when it comes to abortion. I think you can really feel her passion about these issues, that every woman should have the ultimate say on their own body. So of course it makes a difference, absolutely.
And do you think that's important? Because a lot of male leaders say, well, you know, if male leaders have access to both their masculine and their feminine side, actually they don't really need women on the boards, they don't need women in leadership, they don't need women politicians, and what do you think about that?
I think it's completely rubbish, because men and women, they live different lives and they have different experiences. For instance, when it comes to childcare, we just know that I think it's very common throughout the world that if you have the option, then men will bring the kids in the morning, and then the mothers will pick them up in the afternoon. So basically, for a lot of women, it's quite important that these childcare institutions, they have open for like 4 or 5 o'clock and that closes down at 3. I think it's completely rubbish that you can represent all these experiences just by reading them or like being in touch with your feminine side. You need to bring real life experience to the table, and you can only do that if you have a gender diversified board or a gender diversified leadership.
So it seems to me you're also talking about you cannot access that same creativity when you have a limited experience.
I think it's come without saying that you need diversity, you need different experiences, you need different ideas, and what is important is that you have the same ambition and the same sense of the need and your willingness to achieve it, all these kind of things. You need to be ambitious in total, but you need different perspectives, different competences and different experiences. I think that's if you look at all the field of creativities, all the creative business, like you see a lot of people with different backgrounds, and I think this goes for business as well. And I think when it comes to Denmark, it's only a question of time before you will see more women in different boards, that's for sure.
But what about that problem that women need to work harder to get there? That makes a lot of women not want to go there.
Yeah, but that's a decision they need to take, and I think that's the truth. You just need to be really tough, but you need to take some decisions. I think this is important to stress. You also need to work very hard if you want to reach the top as a man. Like it's not true if you say like all the leaders in Denmark, leaders and big CEOs around the world, like they only work 50 hours. No. They work like 70 or 80 hours. So they're willing to do all this, and they're willing to sacrifice these things. I think you cannot complain that it's impossible to reach the top if you're not ready to pay the price in terms of working hours.
So both men and women need to work hard, but you also say that women need to work harder.
I think they need to work harder, and they need to work in a way that, like, they need to work smarter and safer, meaning that the punishment of making a mistake is so much higher for a woman than it is for a man. So no. I think it's completely obvious that it's harder for women to reach the top than it is for men.
I see a lot of women, because it's harder, suppressing then their feminine side, to not appear weak, to not appear emotional, to not appear too woo-woo, intuitive, and so on. Do you see that as well? Yeah,
I think if you are as a woman, if you have a defeat, for instance, in politics, it's very important for you not to show emotions because that will clinch to you forever. Like if you have a teardrop or anything like that, you really have to be very controlled and very composed in public life, and that can be difficult. It's so much easier for men to go through this.
So what's your advice for men and for women who want to step into leadership of the future?
I think it's so important that you realize that you cannot do anything, you cannot do everything by yourself, that you need to know your own limitations. And then you need to reach out to some people that you can work with over long term. Have a strong, I'm not talking about network. You can always network and exchange cards and all this, but like you need to work together with some people that you really believe in and that really believe in you, and then I think you can reach for the stars.
Thank you so much, Noah. That was so encouraging. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for enlightening us with your perspective by leaving a comment on the blog. Also, while you're at it, please don't forget to sign up for my newsletter, Illuminate Me, so I can keep you posted on more tips and tricks on 21st century leadership, and also more interviews with thought leaders, innovators, and other inspiring people. And then let's connect on the social media so we can gather a big community of passionate people who are all committed to co-creating a world that works for all. Thank you again for watching, and hopefully keep in touch.